Well, joining us more in the studio for that and today's political news, the head of digital news here at GBNews, Dan Falvey. Dan, very good to see you. So, what do you expect from this meeting with union leaders today?
So I think what we've got with this meeting of union leaders is the chance for them to move forward. It looks like there could be this chink of optimism. There could be the talk of a deal going forwards. Let's be clear, union leaders want a pay agreement for the last 12 months. Rishi Sunak saying that what we're talking about today is going to be for the next 12 months. So there's still tensions there, but there's talks, and that's a positive step forward. And I think for Rishi Sunak, quite frankly, he's had so many negative headlines about these strikes. He's going to be a little bit disappointed that actually now there looks like there could be progress, and the front pages today are purely about Prince Harry. This was some positive news for him.
You say then there might be progress, but there might also be, there's more votes going to happen on strikes. It's looking like there's going to be more strikes within the NHS.
Yeah, and that's what they're hoping that these talks today could avert. But where the difference still lies is Rishi Sunak saying we're willing to talk about pay, but for next year they're saying we need to talk about pay for the last year. So there's still that tension there. Until they work out exactly who's going to shift on that, I think we are looking at there will still be strike action probably coming in the weeks ahead.
The Guardian are saying this morning that there's talk that they've heard anyway of a one-off payment called a hardship payment, which would be contingent that the strikes would be dropped and that they would remove their request for an increased payment for this year. So it would be kind of like, we'll give you this, a bit of a quid pro quo, if you stop these strikes and we can crack on. Does that sound like, that could be a workable solution?
I think it could be a workable solution, and what I think would frustrate the nursing unions and actually frustrate Steve Barclay, the Health Secretary, is he was quite eager to make this offer a couple of months ago, but Number 10, the Treasury, blocked it and said, quite frankly, this can't happen. So I think there will be some frustration that if this is the solution that happens in the end, why on earth have we had strikes over the last month, and why we ended up in this position when we could have done that earlier at the end of last year and have been done with this?
Sunak says there's no crisis within the NHS. There's pressure, but no crisis as such. Having spent 10 days, well, I've spent 2 spells over the summer in NHS hospitals. The big issue for me was, particularly in England, because I was in hospital in Belfast as well, agency staff. It was quite obvious the amount of agency staff was unbelievable, which in the short term was saving money. These people aren't getting pensions, they're not getting holiday, they're not getting that sort of thing. But they're being paid at an extra rate, a higher rate than staff people. And no one addresses the elephant in the room. This has got to be due to Brexit. A lot of this has got to be due to Brexit.
A lot of nursing has gone home.
Yeah.
Well, this is why the nurses that say that they need this pay rise. They say their biggest problem is actually it's training nurses who then leave. They go to work in Australia, for example, where the pay's better, and they're saying that's why they need this extra pay, is to keep the retention of staff so that agency staff aren't needed in the future. So they argue that the pay rise is actually in the long-term interests of saving money for the NHS.